my god, everything that can go wrong today just goes wrong today. And I got hit by electricity. Oh my god, man. So this is attempt number 4 taking this video. Um First attempt, I didn't realize it was in the wrong timestamp. Second attempt, my mic fell. Third attempt, my clothes fell on the floor, so I put them in the back, and then I put them in the back, and now you saw again, like one of my what do you call it? The fleece also fell again, so I was like, fuck it. Fuck it, we're doing it live! We're doing it live! Anyways. Welcome back to episode 4 of Discount Destiny. Destiny from Temu. Destiny from Wish. Okay. Terrorist sympathizer Destiny. Okay. I don't know, like, I don't know how many ways I can call him. I know I can't say his bad empanada. I like, why panada? Why not just panda? Bad panda. Anyways, episode 4. So this is where we left off, where Ethan gets confronted by a lunatic on the street. Let's see how he defends this point about a person being harassed, called names for no reason, just because, because of his beliefs in America. Which, by the way, yes, freedom of speech, but also, this guy's just an asshole. So yeah.
How come you don't like Palestine?
I like Palestine.
No, you don't.
Why do you say that?
Because, bro, you're. Wasn't she in the IDF?
Yeah.
Disgusting. She was in the IDF at the
Oh,
time.
damn, that's crazy.
Mandatory service.
That's
She's going
sad.
there.
Nothing mandatory about it. You can refuse. It's quite easy to refuse. The penalty for refusing is like 3 months in prison. Way better than helping to massacre babies, isn't it? I've been over this before. Don't worry. I've been over this before. Oh my god, it's just endless.
Actually, there's a lot of problems with not going to the army in Israel. Yes, it's 3 months imprisonment. They can ask you again, you can refuse again, then you're gonna go back to prison. Or, and honestly, like, the prison part is not even that bad. Army prison in Israel is a fucking joke. It's honestly, I've been there a few times. All you do is like play chess all day and like play cards and just chill, right? Sometimes you do like little duties, but like for the most part, you're just chilling all day with the boys, right? Well, the girl with the girls. The problem is actually comes after. A lot of professions will not want to hire you if you didn't go to the army. So, and also, by the way, this is an 18-year-old who went to the IDF, who lived with her parents the whole life, and telling them you're going 3 months to jail, right, to army prison, which, by the way, they just call jail, right, is intense. Like, you don't want to do that. Like, you're an 18-year-old kid. You don't you're not an ideologue. You're just a kid. You just finished high school, and it's like all your friends are going. This is like this norm in the country. This is like normal to go in the country, to go to the IDF. Let alone women's service has practically nothing to do with bombing children. Okay, honestly, 99% of the army has nothing to do with bombing children, okay? Just like, So, I don't know. I feel like this is a completely dishonest argument about like, oh, you could have refused, went 3 months to jail. Her whole life can be impacted by not going to jail. You would not get promoted at work in many cases. There's a lot of fucking things that can go wrong by not going to the army, especially at those times. Right now, because like they're more liberals, they're more like, I wouldn't call them anti-Israeli, but like the original identity of Israel, good or bad, doesn't matter. Maybe now there's like more businesses that are okay with you like refusing to go to the army and whatever. But for the most part, like, I don't know. I didn't live in Israel for like 15 years or whatever. But it is, especially like almost 20 years ago, like I think we are about the same age. So like about 20 years ago, Hila, as a kid, choosing not to go to the army had massive implications. Massive implication. Has nothing to do with just the jail time, which, by the way, telling an 18-year-old, hey, you're going to jail, is extreme. So like, again, very, very dishonest person. man, I'm like resisting calling him like a vile piece of shit. But hey, it is what it is.
Shit. I mean, I don't know. This is taking too long, man. I feel the need to respond to every little thing because it's all such bullshit and wrong.
Same.
Stop that impulse. Too much.
That's terrorism, bro.
She was born there.
That's sad.
She's born there, so it can't be terrorism, I guess. Well, Hamas was born there. Are they terrorists?
Bad for you guys. Ethan Klein, bro, you're ugly as fuck, bro. You're ugly as shit. You look like a rapist,
Bro,
bro.
look in the fucking.
You look like a fucking rapist, Ethan. Feel bad for you guys. Ethan Klein, bro, you're ugly as fuck, bro. You're ugly as shit. You look like a rapist.
I say nothing wrong with this. Nothing that he said is wrong.
Bro, I'm tired of all this coward.
Nothing is wrong. It's a personal insult. It's one thing to like argue like his points, like, hey man, you're terror, like you support a genocide, whatever. Like you can argue that. I see nothing wrong with him just going out of his way to like call these guys like, hey, you're ugly as fuck, whatever. At the very least, you could have said like, okay, like maybe you shouldn't do like personal attacks, just attack the argument. Obviously, that is not the case with Discount Destiny. Discount Destiny, just if he could press a button and Ethan Klein would stop to exist, like snap, a Thanos snap, he would. Okay, this guy is not acting like a human being. He's acting like a complete radical, ideologic piece of shit. He's the type of guy when in Nazi Germany who would, round up the Jews. Okay, straight up, he would not be like, oh, well, is the government doing the good or bad thing? He'll be like, no, Jews are evil, so we're just gonna kill all of them.
Americans in the South trying to act like they're so tough. Oh, I'm American. Oh, you don't even run your own country. You don't run your own country, bro. You don't run your own country. A foreign country named Israel runs your country.
Okay, this guy's a dumbass, actually.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
What he said in the first clip was not wrong, though. Now, obviously,
At least he
Israel
admits that.
does not control the USA. The USA, if anything, controls Israel. But that
True.
just makes a lot of Ethan Klein's arguments worse because, like, he tells people to vote for Biden in spite of Biden fully supporting the genocide. When Biden could, with a phone call, force Israel to stop.
Both of them. If like, I'm not saying it's a genocide, but based on his argument, using his argument, both of them, like both sides, would support Israel. Israel is a good territory for the West to exude its influence. It is what it is. For good or bad, doesn't matter. You like US, you hate US. That is what it is. Israel has very, very Western values overall. It is much closer to a democracy. It is pretty much a democracy. Like there's a vote and all that stuff compared to like anywhere else in that area. Okay, you can say that's like, oh, well, Egypt has votes and whatever. Sure. Right. But Israel is and by the way, the reason the US can influence Egypt better is because of Israel as well, right? So it's like, and Jordan, same thing, right? So having Israel there with also like a pretty big port, right? Like a massive access to Mediterranean Sea and all that stuff. So having Israel there is a extremely good strategical position for the US to like endorse, more so than Ukraine. Okay, so if your argument is like, well, why are you sending money to Israel and not to Ukraine? Well, honestly, it is a much more important strategical location. If you had to choose one or the other, you would choose Israel, right? In my opinion, US should do what's best for the US. And if it stop giving aid to Israel, then they need to stop giving aid to Israel, right? Just every country needs to work in its own benefit. If they decided that giving aid to Israel is good for their own country, and I'm not talking about like enriching themselves, I'm talking about like good for the actual country, for the people, then, so be it. But if it's not, then stop giving aid to Israel, whatever.
Stop it whenever he wants. He has that power easily. He could threaten to withdraw all military support, all military supply. He could threaten to just straight up like invade them, attack them or something.
By the way, okay, first of all, like, why would the fuck would they invade? If they stop giving support, then they stop giving support. You know what would happen if the US stopped giving support to Israel? Israel would stop trying to be so humane in the war. And you're like, oh, there's genocide. Okay, listen. If a scenario like October 7th happened in the US, let's say, Mexico, but official Mexico, right? went in, kidnapped, I guess in terms of proportion, it will be like 100,000 people, even more actually. Kidnapped 100,000, butchered, murdered, raped people, right? Just like based on like amount of people in the country versus amount of people hurt, right? It's like I don't remember. Someone said the number, but it might even be like more than 100,000. I don't remember the amount. Anyway, so if that happened, there would be no consideration for civilian lives in Mexico. Okay? Especially like on the scale that Israel's doing it. If Israel had the same zeal as the US had in 9/11, there would be no Gaza Strip right now. It would be like fucking flattened, okay? No one would have, like, do this to Russia, do this to China, do this to US, whatever happened on October 7th, do this to any country that is like, that has power, do it to them, see what fucking happens, okay? Like, Gaza would not exist, especially because it's such a small territory. So, I don't want to hear this bullshit like, oh, it's like, Israel is evil, okay? I mean, I want to hear it, it's funny. But any other country, it would be fucking flattened, okay? Now, regarding the argument of like if the US didn't support Israel, bro, honestly, if they stop supporting Israel and Israel is actually going to start running out of ammunition, they would start being a bit more precise. They would stop giving warnings and letting terrorists run away. There would be a lot more civilian deaths if Israel was short on supplies. Because you don't understand, this is an existential war for Israel. They literally will have nothing to lose at that point. It's like, listen, we only have this amount of missiles, we have to make each one count. Oh, they're gonna make each one count, okay? You're gonna make each one fucking count.
He didn't do that, did he? So obviously the USA is the one who controls, the one who, if anything, controls Israel. And this guy is just, Ethan's like, look at this guy, right?
Oh, sorry.
Guilt by association. Here's a clip of Hassan with this guy who harassed me, apparently. Everything that he said to you was correct. Call harassment if you want. He's not wrong.
Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
I'm so sweaty.
Is Hassan supposed to know who this guy is?
I love you, bro.
That's not the... It is not the argument. The argument is Hassan is breeding these retards. I love you, bro. You're my god. Everything you say is fucking gospel. What do you think he's getting his ideas? Like, he's affected. Like, the whole argument here is that he's affected by what Hassan is saying. That he is radicalized more because of Hassan. Right? Now, that does not mean much, realistically, right? Because, like, any content creator has like crazy people watching him, right? Tim Pool had like some Nazis watching him, so, and you can't blame Tim Pool for Nazis watching him, Same thing as you can't blame Hassan for having this retard watch him, right? It is not a strong argument. I think he just wanted to like, bring this guy a bit more to light. But, this argument, yes, it is a weak one. I personally don't like this argument.
I have to interview you. You're my hero, bro. I love you. Bro, you're the coolest guy in the world, bro. Hold on, I think I look gay.
This guy likes Hassan. Ethan, do you know the people who like you? If you want to do guilt by association, let's talk about your guilt by association.
Finally a good point, but yeah.
The sex criminal. And like hundreds, thousands of his fans, Ethan.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hold on, I think I look gay now.
Okay.
The funny thing about me, I don't like terrorism, and I don't like terrorists. If they're
You're married to a terrorist. You're married to a terrorist, Ethan Klein.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, they're all bad. What is terrorism? It's intentionally targeting civilian population for political goals.
That's Israel. You just described Israel.
Nope.
Your wife was a member of the IDF.
Nope.
Call her a secretary if you want. Do you think that a secretary for the Hamas military wing would not be a terrorist? You would think they would be a terrorist 100%. So why is a secretary for the IDF not a terrorist? Not to mention that, but as we went over in the clip earlier, she was like a logistical employee who was far removed from the front line. She found that boring, so she asked to be transferred to somewhere with more action, and they sent her to the occupied West Bank, where she was worked directly under the regional commander in charge of doing terrorism against Palestinians in the West Bank in Ramallah. And that was still not fun enough for her, so she asked to go on an outright terrorist raid. If that's your definition of terrorism, then your wife is a terrorist. It's that simple.
I don't like it. None of it. And over time, I started to learn that my co-host, he really likes terrorists.
Big musicals. They're very musical people.
I want him to try to explain how these people are terrorists. I want to see him argue for that.
You want to explain how this is not a terrorist propaganda? Okay.
Without just appealing to people already thinking they're terrorists because they're Arab, I want him to argue for why these people are terrorists and why Hila Klein is not. Because if these people are terrorists, Hila is a mega extra, like omega terrorist.
Serious? Dog, what do you look? You think I made this? Isn't I know they're singing, but I'm seeing this guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hassan. Taking over these ships, they started targeting the ships.
Finally, the good part.
Right, yes, they're streaming this. Yeah, they're flexing. What? And they're coming in hot with guns. Yeah, but you have to understand, this is a deterrent. We think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization.
Do we like them or no?
He just said that the Houthis he put an ISIS flag next to Luffy from that anime or whatever. It's funny how I know the name of the character but not the anime. But like to say One Piece, that's it. To try and say that the Houthis are the same as ISIS when the Houthis literally fought ISIS. Fucking moron.
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say. But they are a terrorist organization. Like they're designated. They are designated by the American state as a terrorist organization.
I do not.
Cuba was designated by the US state as a state sponsor of terrorism. Does that mean that Cuba is a terrorist organization? Whether someone is a terrorist or not is not decided by whether the US government designates them as such, okay? That's a simple fact.
They are for that country, though. If a country designates as another entity as a terrorist organization for that country, they are considered a terrorist organization. Obviously, in Palestine, wherever that is, the mystical land that is Palestine, Hamas might not, probably isn't a terrorist organization. That doesn't, what? Obviously, somebody has to designate someone as a terrorist first and foremost in order for them to even be considered terrorists by someone, right? However, the whole world considers Hamas a terrorist organization, not just the US. It's like a consensus. Same as ISIS, same as like was Al-Qaeda or whatever, like same as Hezbollah. They're a designated terrorist organization. Obviously, for themselves, they're not terrorist organizations. And a person inside of a cult is not considering himself inside of a cult. He's just a religious zealot, you know? He's just religious. Not like, so he sacrificed a goat. He's not in a cult, guys. Come on. Oh, just because you say I'm in a cult doesn't mean I'm actually in a cult. That's such a weak argument.
The US government is a geopolitical actor. It's going to designate whoever the fuck it considers its enemies as terrorists. That's why it considered Nelson Mandela a terrorist until 2008. Means fucking nothing. If your evidence is the US government says so, then you are so lobotomized.
Then words don't mean anything. There are no terrorists, guys. There's only perspective. There are no terrorists, guys. Perspective. It's all about perspective.
I'm bothering to respond to you.
I like them then.
Well,
He is regarded as a pretty brilliant a person in terms of like everything that he's done.
Then I saw clips like this where Hassan is explaining how he's hiding his
He doesn't actually tell us why they're terrorists.
power level to funnel in normies into radicalization.
I think that in the short term, in order to combat against that, you have to advocate for a much lighter form of propaganda. You want America, in the way that I feel about it, and if you want America to get out of the way for places with more revolutionary potential to do what they would normally do, I think that, you know, one thing you have to do is...
One thing that is really funny to me is that revolutionary potential and something like communism just doesn't work. Communism is the exact opposite of what revolution, evolution, and any advancement is. Communism is literally no advancement for anyone.
Is advocate for
because there's no incentive.
A lighter form, while simultaneously still doing agitated propaganda that goes beyond, social democratic idea.
I just wanted to put emphasis on the exact point point of the so-called radicalization funnel, where, for example, Hassan and JT catch them while they're young, as they say, and then they start looking into this new idea, etc., and then move forwards through the funnel, get more and more informed, get more and more radicalized.
Is Ethan like just presenting to us by default this idea that like having radical politics, like radical leftist politics, is bad, and we're just supposed to take it as like being bad? What about what Hassan actually has said is wrong? Like, he just presents everything as self-evident. As I was like, is he going to explain to us how these people are terrorists? Is he going to explain to us why they're wrong and why Israel, who they are
Finish the point.
is right? He's not. He just skips over everything. He doesn't make arguments. He just shows clips. And maybe like for 1 out of 10 of the clips,
because he's not here to make arguments. He's not a debater. He's just showing you Hassan. He's literally just showing you what Hassan does. He's not here to fucking tell you what to think. He's here. Here's what Hassan does. Here's what he did. Here's how he talks. Here's who supports him. Here are his beliefs. Make your own decision. That's all it is.
he actually responds to them.
You do your part in the funnel for the cause, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. You're doing, in my modest opinion, a great thing for the cause.
Now listen to Hassan during our very first conversation lie to me about how he's a social democrat to hide his power level.
We should move towards a Sweden-style economy or a Norway-style economy, which would be a social democracy.
You have to advocate.
But he's not lying about that here. He's not lying about shit. That he's like a gradualist. Like he believes in like
he's not.
He said we should move to a social democracy. How does that mean that he's not also a socialist, right? There's lots of people who are like this, who believe that like, you know, you should have short-term goals that are more realistic, and eventually you will move towards something that you want more that you want, right? Like you surely understand that, Ethan Klein. Don't you advocate voting for Joe Biden even though he does genocide? Don't you understand compromise in the short term?
He's making a null argument because he's not arguing.
Which isn't even on the
what
same
is
plan
being
as what Hassan is saying here, by the way. But like,
sorry, like I don't know if you could even hear me while talking over him. He's not arguing the point right now at all. He's just spewing more garbage. This is not what this point is about at all. Like he's just making stuff up now.
You're presenting this as a gotcha, as if Hassan hides who he is. He does not.
Yes, he does.
If anything, Hassan is not radical enough, by the way.
Advocate for a much lighter form of propaganda.
With robust social safety nets.
Cold radicalization funnel, catch them while they're young, as they say.
And protections for workers.
This is like unhinged conspiracy theorist shit, dude.
Higher unionization rates.
A lighter form, while simultaneously still doing agitated propaganda that goes beyond social democratic ideas.
Hell, he's proclaimed it loudly that he is a self-described propagandist.
I'm a propagandist.
And?
Well, no. For the record.
You think you're not a propagandist, even though you don't say it? You like admit it. Admit it. Like propaganda is not a negative term. It just means that you advocate for certain ideas.
It is a negative term.
I'm a propagandist.
Only really in English does propaganda have this negative connotation.
Just saying.
Oh, the language that we're using. I'm sorry, the language we're using, propaganda has a negative connotation. What? Dude, oh my god, bro. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I watch this? Oh my god, man. I don't know, man. It's gonna be hard to finish this. I don't even think I can. Like, this guy is actually fucking retarded.
I'm saying I am.
Okay, well then,
As the title of the video.
A propagandist is much more than someone with a bias. It's someone who knowingly lies to further their
No, it's not.
political agenda.
And then I had a terrifying vision.
Propagandist is someone who spreads propaganda for certain political ideas. That's all that means.
Propaganda definition. Especially of a biased or misleading nature. Used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Especially of a biased or misleading nature. Therefore, if it's biased, it doesn't have to be true. It just has to conform to your beliefs. Misleading nature means basically a nice word to say it's a lie. So yes, propagandists will shift reality to fit their narrative. So yes, somebody who knowingly and actively lies.
Propaganda can also, in other languages like Spanish, it can also just mean like an ad. Like a shampoo ad can be called propaganda. That's all that it means.
Had I been duped?
We're not speaking Spanish, are we? Fuck, man.
Was Hassan presenting a Trojan horse to my community where he was just a left-wing...
Had you been duped? You're a 40-year-old fucking man. This is one of the people with the most...
What is the age where you stop getting duped? My grandma's still getting duped with fishing, right? kids get duped. Is there like at some point where like you stop getting duped by people who are good at duping others? Like, as far as I know, being a scammer is actually like pretty lucrative. Like being the head scammer, not like the the bottom feeders. But being scammers is pretty lucrative. Why? Because people get duped. So this argument of like, oh my god, you got duped. It's like, well, he took somebody for their word. He said all the right things based on everything he knew about the guy, which probably wasn't enough. He believed him because why wouldn't he? Because if you live your life the way that like if like in his case, right? It's like, oh well, he should doubt everyone, bro. It's such a hard life to actually doubt anyone. You can't collab with anyone. You have to do like a background fucking check on every single person that interacts with you. What are his motives for talking to me? You know, it's like it's too much.
Documented existences alive today. Had you been duped by him, you're acting like you're a poor little baby boy who was groomed into like a gang or something against your will.
That's how it
when
works.
you're talking about like you made a podcast with this guy who is one of the most documented human beings in existence today.
Democrat like myself, and as he said in the previous
By the
video,
way,
was funneled.
He's documented. Like he is. But other than the 9/11 thing, which by the way happened like multiple years before, and like he took it as an edgy joke, right? Didn't take it as something serious, right? And Hassan probably also told him like, hey, but what's this thing with the 9/11? It sounds like, oh, it's just an edgy joke, whatever. You know how it is in the content creation world. You got to say some outlandish shit, you know. So yeah, like it's really not that hard to dupe someone, especially when you already have like someone like Hassan who has like a pretty big audience, whatever. So it's like he can't be that bad. Like he has a huge following, right? Like that type of mentality, right? It's like why do you ask celebrities to endorse a political candidate? Well, celebrities, a lot of people like them, and they're well known. They're famous, you know, like people like want their autograph. So if they think that somebody who's like, you know, who's political, like they're gonna vote Joe Biden. Like, well, maybe I should vote Joe Biden too. Why? Because like the popular guy said so. So yeah, dude, it's not that hard to dupe people. What the fuck? If like 95% like of voters are getting duped. Okay. Like, fuck.
Funneling them into radicalization and turning them against me.
Liberals are some of the easiest to manipulate people on the fucking planet, dude.
I learned how much he hates liberals.
Dude, I hate
You
liberals,
didn't know this
dude.
beforehand. Like half of these clips are probably from like years before you even made the podcast with him.
I do.
What's wrong with hating liberals, by the way? Liberals are the biggest snakes in the world.
Because you don't hate a demographic. This is literally like racism, man. But for political reasons. You don't just hate a demographic automatically. Vast majority of people are liberals. They believe in live and let live. Vast majority of people. Like, you don't bother me, I don't bother you. Pretty much everyone lives that way. Okay? So
great example of that, because you claim to be pro something that you're not, and you try to like shift the needle to the point where like you're framing pro-Israel Zionist goals as pro-Palestinian, and that is so much worse than being like Netanyahu and just outright saying what you truly and unequivocally believe and who your ideas serve to benefit.
It's gonna
and
be
who they
last
serve
chapter,
to hurt.
man. I can't.
You're
I
way
can't with
worse
this guy. He's so
as a
stupid.
liberal. You're way
This
hard.
guy is just so fucking retarded. I can't. He's literally so stupid and dishonest. It's fucking crazy.
To fight as a liberal than the far right are, because you know Netanyahu is open and obvious about what he is. You believe in a lot of the same shit. Like 90% of the most important stuff that he believes in, you believe in, like maintaining a Jewish majority, maintaining a Jewish ethno-state.
Yeah, these are all good things. Yes.
Keeping Palestinians,
maintaining a majority of the people who are like that country was made for. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. Why? Because then otherwise you would have cultures that believe in having 12 or 15 children take over your country in the long run. So yeah, it is actually like a good thing to maintain your own ethnic majority. Yes. Is it sustainable? No. But it's still something like, it's a goal. It will never happen unless you encourage your ethnic majority to keep fucking, right? But like,
you expelled out of your country, but you present yourself as being like fundamentally different to him based only on the other 10%. Like, okay, Netanyahu wants the rest of the West Bank. I don't think we should take the West Bank though.
And Hitler used to drink water, and he breathed air, and he slept at night. He wore shoes when he walked. Man, we're all too close to being Hitler now.
That's it. Wow, man, you're so fundamentally different. You're definitely not a Zionist.
I hate them. I hate them so viciously.
And again, he's using the word Zionist as if like it's a bad thing. It's like, bro, you believe that the existence of Israel should exist. Which, by the way, Ethan believes Israel should exist. So clearly, he is a Zionist. So why are you saying that Ethan is saying he's not a Zionist? That's so stupid. Like, clearly you're not a Zionist. Like, no, he is. He admits that he's a Zionist. He believes Israel should exist. So yeah, he's a Zionist.
Really despise me this whole time?
I'm sorry, dude. I hate liberals so much.
I mean, just from the clips that I've seen of that show, most of which I've seen like during this, like Hassan treated Ethan like literally like a child. Like it was like Hassan's not even. I don't even have a great opinion of him, by the way. I mean, I'm gonna piss up.
Yeah, because he's not progressive enough. Like he needs to pour blood on the streets.
His fancy, but I don't think he's the smartest political commentator in the world. I don't think he knows that much. But he makes Ethan Klein look like a baby. Literally, he makes Ethan Klein look like a 12-year-old learning about basic concepts for the first time. So it's so funny that he's like,
because Ethan Klein is not a political commentator. He never did politics, and the only time he was brought into politics realistically was the Israel thing. Like he was dabbling in some stuff, but like there was more of mature nature with some guests that he brought on the HTH3 podcast. But he doesn't really do politics. Honestly, I don't even know why he brought Jordan Peterson on. Right, like realistically speaking, like I don't understand what H3 has in connection to something like a Jordan Peterson, right? Like it makes no sense. I'm not saying the interview was bad or anything. I'm just saying that it's like I didn't connect. Like, what's the connection here to the content? But yeah, Ethan is like only since the Israel thing started has become more political compared to like before.
Duped here, like I mean, you were duped like in the same way that I guess like an 8-year-old is duped into believing that Santa Claus is real.
Did this man sit next to me for 2 years?
It's like, oh, this is so obvious to me, so you guys are so stupid for not knowing. God. Oh, man. I bet he doesn't get invited places.
Pretend to be my friend?
Dude, liberals are a burden on this planet,
That's
dude.
crazy.
Liberals are the most like
this is so negative that Hassan made it.
Gummy, vile, fucking idiots. Liberals are incredibly stupid. I hate these petulant liberals, dumb fucking liberals.
What else is someone this sociopathic capable of?
Liberal
sociopathic how? The conspiracy framing, I love it.
Was I being manipulated this whole time?
That was my fear anyway. Regardless of his true beliefs.
Poor little baby boy.
That broke my trust.
Poor little baby boy. By the way, all the women who get manipulated by their manipulative boyfriends and whatever, you're just like too stupid. You're like 8-year-old believing in Santa Claus, by the way. And all the guys who get manipulated by women, like you guys are like 8-year-olds believing in Santa Claus. Yeah, it's like no one ever gets manipulated. What is wrong with you? Such a dumb argument, bro. I honestly think this guy thinks he is the smarter guy in the room, and like, but he needs to be in a room full of like fucking, I don't know, elephants or some shit, and I'm pretty sure the elephants are smarter.
In him, and I pretty much ended the show immediately. And
you ended the show because you couldn't handle that you were being called out for being a pro-Israel Zionist.
To be fair, he does make a good point here. That is not my understanding of why the show ended. It was the factor, sure, but there's like multiple, escalations. And I think he didn't cancel the show strictly because of Hassan, but because of his community, and then the fact that Hassan would not moderate his community.
Oh.
I felt guilty for my participation in mainstreaming Hassan. And for that, I apologize. I should have done more research, and I should have looked more deeply into who I was getting in bed with.
I also don't know if he actually like mainstreamed Hassan. I don't know. I'm pretty sure, I feel like Hassan had the bigger audience, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because Ethan is like, he has like the millions of views on YouTube, while Hassan is on Twitch, so it's like it doesn't always translate exactly the same. So I don't know if you can say mainstream, but I think the point is that, like, you know, he exposed him to more.
Before they gave me chlamydia. Sorry, Hila. Over the past year since the show ended, I continue to watch Hassan
I'm gonna make this faster because it's taking way too long, especially because my responses are far too in-depth, more in-depth than this.
Promote and
in-depth
and propagandize terrorist organizations. And every time it happened on Twitch, I would say, man, this time surely he went too far and someone's got to do something. But as the time went on, nothing happened, and his views got more and more radical and more disturbing. I feel it's my obligation, after mainstreaming someone like Hassan, to take this on. And so...
You didn't mainstream someone like Hassan. He's been mainstream. He's mainstream, actually mainstream. You aren't mainstream at all. You're a guy who has like a YouTube podcast where we talk about celebrity drama. Hassan's actually like featured in the mainstream media and stuff, and has been for like 5+ years. Like, he was mainstreaming you.
It was war. Nuclear war.
I stand before you following the footsteps.
Okay, I'm not going to watch his like extremely supposedly funny intro that he probably paid someone to make, but I do want to note that after that he has an ExpressVPN sponsorship. Let's look at who ExpressVPN is. So ExpressVPN is a company that is owned by certain...
Oh my god, he's going after the ads, man. Oh my god, bro. How low can you get, man?
Israeli businessman, Teddy Sagai. Teddy Sagai is a compulsive donator to the IDF. He has donated millions to the IDF, around at least 5 million from what I've been able to see. He attends like the Friends of the IDF gala. He's been doing this for decades. Okay. So basically, Ethan Klein's video is sponsored by a company owned by fanatical genocidal Zion.
Fanatical. Don't forget, he's also fanatical because he believes in the IDF and that Israel believes needs to exist, so he's automatically fanatical, right? But he lives in Sweden, by the way, because he's Swiss. So yeah. Also, by the way, if ExpressVPN ever sponsors anyone else, just know that whoever they sponsor is apparently also a Zionist and, you know, a very bad person, because ExpressVPN sponsors them.
Who funds the IDF. Very much on brand. Couldn't expect much more from Ethan Klein, could ya?
ExpressVPN.com/H3HD for 4 free months. Or scan. I am here.
So this next part is all like just Ethan trying to be funny about Twitch and stuff. I'm gonna try.
This is pretty fucking funny, by the way. This was really like, honestly, this part, just the intro for the Twitch thing, is probably the best part of the video. It is actually really fucking funny.
I'm going to get to the part where he starts talking about the Houthis, who are like his example of Hassan Piker supporting terrorism.
Or that designer dog.
This breed's stunning fluffy coat comes with a price. Chow Chows shed
fuck no.
Very cute, by the way, but those are expensive. The point is, we have the biggest political stream.
Okay, like again, the whole point is Hassan is saying he's a communist. His whole stream was about going to rescue a dog, and then somehow he was donated a $10,000+ dog instead. It's literally just about his hypocrisy. And again, his hypocrisy is about, like, it shows his character, that he doesn't believe what he says. He's wearing designer clothes. He has his own merch, so he's a capitalist. Right? He sells merch to his fan base, so he's a capitalist already. Right? He doesn't live by any standard that he preaches. We should be communists, but I'm not paying my moderators for the work they do. Which is literally how communists are. Right? That is how communists are. The ones who are on top, because there's no equality in communism. No. There's peasants, and then there is the communists. Okay? If you're the peasant in communism, you're not a part of the system. You are being used by the system.
Streamer on our platform that is influencing media and influencing young kids everywhere. If we can normalize terrorism, if we could rebrand it, then fuck the U.S. Navy. You know how much
I want to get to him talking about supposed terrorism.
Take a look at a recent media analysis by Ad Fonte, which rated Hassan as the most extreme left-wing, untrustworthy media source on the...
I mean, dude, if Ad Fonte said so, I guess it's true, man.
Like, let's start with
Again, it's not if one guy said it, then it's true. It's just another example and another example and another example. How many examples do you need to see that Hassan is a fucking terrorist supporter? Well, of course, there's no such thing as terrorists because it's a matter of perspective, right? So,
good friend Luffy here and his organization, the Houthis. And yes, this is what it looks like. They are hiling Hitler. The Houthis.
Firstly, Rashid is not a Houthi. He has clarified this many, many times. He's not a Houthi. He's just a Yemeni citizen. He might support the Houthis, but he's not a member of the organization. He said this many times. There's no reason why we shouldn't take his word on this.
how does a regular Yemeni citizen has access to hijacked cruise ships and to the hostages? How does he have access to them if he's just a regular Yemeni citizen? Also, we should just take his word for it because he said so. Because he didn't, and again, if we're just taking his word for it, then why don't we just take his word for it for everything else? Like being with the hostages, chilling with the hostages. How does a regular young citizen chill with hostages that were kidnapped by Houthis? You know, like it's such a mystery to me.
Any more than we shouldn't take Hila Klein's word on her only being a secretary in the IDF, Ethan, until you can provide any evidence otherwise. He is not a Houthi, and it's ridiculous that you keep saying so. Not that it would be bad if he was, it would be good. He's like, they are hiling Hitler. Dude.
And also, by the way, even if he isn't a Houthi, Hassan himself was excited to bring in a Houthi, right? So let's say he lied about being a Houthi, which doesn't fucking make any sense, right? Let's say this kid lied about being a Houthi to get on Hassan's stream. Hassan still willingly, while thinking the person was a Houthi, brought him on the stream. So it doesn't really matter if he's Houthi or not. He is. But the whole point is that Hassan was still happy, more than happy, to have him on the stream.
In the Arab world, the Roman salute is used all the time. It has nothing to do with Hitler. It's used quite simply as a...
No, and like, of course. I wonder what his... what his argument was about Elon Musk doing the, my heart goes out to you. When he did that, right? It's like I wonder what his response was. Oh, like that was the Nazi salute. But these guys doing the Nazi salute that's not it.
Normal salute. It was originally picked up by Pan-Arabism in like the 30s and the 40s, and it's just been sort of like a state.
The 30s and the 40s. Jeez, what happened in the 30s and the 40s? Oh, I wonder what happened in the 30s and the 40s. Oh, man. I think there was some deal struck as well between a certain Arab leader and Hitler. And it's just a coincidence that in like the 30s and the 40s, they just started doing it, It's like, oh, it's not the Nazi salute. It's the Roman Arab salute, yeah.
Staple of certain like Arab armies and such ever since. Here is the normal Lebanese army, which is not the army that fights Israel, by the way. These guys do nothing. I don't even know why they exist. They never fight Israel. Here's the regular Lebanese army doing the Roman salute as well. In short, this is just a totally different context in the Arab world, and it has nothing to do with hailing Hitler. You dishonest piece of shit. Again, this is just emblematic of Ethan basically relying totally on narrativization. Like he never tries to explain things, never tries to like provide evidence for.
Which, by the way, again, just because they don't know what they're doing, just because it looks similar to them, but they're told it's not, doesn't mean that the origin of this is not the same. Just because it became standard for their army to do it, because let's be real, if they start in the 30s and 40s, these guys who are not fighting Israel right now used to really hate Israel and Jews. So maybe they're not doing it now. They're doing it now because of tradition. It doesn't take away from why they started doing it.
He just tells you what to believe and moves on if it's sort of self-evident. And most of the clips
because it is. You literally, when you said that they started doing it in the 30s and 40s, is literally telling us exactly what we are thinking.
Of like Hassan, he doesn't even try to respond to. It's ridiculous. It's pure narrative. It's preaching to a choir of morons, of lobotomized.
Bro, the irony of him talking about morons and lobotomized morons.
morons. His strategy here is not to actually
The
deal with
irony.
the facts, it's to try and convince the viewer that there are a bunch of negative associations that this Rashid guy has. Like, he's a Houthi, those are terrorists, he's a terrorist, he's not even a Houthi, and there's no explanation for how the Houthis are.
Yeah, we don't believe him that he's a Houthi because he later on came out to say he's not a Houthi, but before that he was pretty much saying he's a Houthi. So like, just believe him, guys. Believe what he's saying. Come on. Like, well, okay, which part?
Terrorist. Look, you know Hitler. Hitler's bad. These guys are doing a salute that looks oddly like the Hitler salute, right? Ignore the context and everything. They're hailing Hitler. That's his strategy here, because on the actual facts, he's going to fall over, as you'll see.
Yeah, I already
These are an Islamic military group. They're known for their cruel measures, forcibly recruiting child soldiers.
They're known for their cruel measures. Bunch of zero context headlines. You can read this one.
Okay, here's a headline. 240,000 Yemenis starved to death. Literally died from starvation because of the Houthis.
For example, and this is an article by DW.
There is absolutely no argument you can make that it makes this okay. A child holding a fucking I don't know what gun it is. Families send their children to so-called summer camps. There, adolescents are given combat training and taught why they should fight for God. Both government forces and Houthi rebels use child soldiers. And by the way, before you said, it's like, oh, well, we have this in the States, you know, like our kids, like, you know, like we teach them how to use guns. This is a bit different from how to use guns. Like, if he was just taught how to use a gun, that's one thing. When he's taught that, like, you know, God is more important than his life and all that stuff, and it's like he should sacrifice himself for the cause, then, you know, it's a bit different.
Which is obviously a German and thus incredibly unreliable. You can see in this article, for example, right
Anything that is from the West is unreliable. Yep.
there on the screen, it says that both the Houthis and the government do the same thing, and it's just criminal for him as well not to provide any context for how and why this might happen, like the fact that Yemen has been under a brutal assault by the Saudis, by his own country, the USA, and his other country, Israel, for the last more than a decade. What has happened in Yemen can accurately be described as a genocide, and he does not seem to want to mention this. He does not seem to want to mention who has been carrying out the genocide. It's not the Houthis.
Yeah, the civil war in Yemen. Let's see. Well, he just Googled it, right? So, civil war in Yemen continues to devastate the country. Okay, so there's a civil war between the Houthis and the Yemen, and they use child soldiers. Got it. Thank you for the
It's the Saudis. It's the Yemeni government who they back. This is like talking about how brutal the French resistance are in World War II without providing the context of who they were fighting, why they were fighting them, and the broader war. It's insane to do this. It's
the context is pretty easy. Like, aren't they fighting Israel right now as well? So they're using child soldiers. And by the way, like, do I really care that they're using child soldiers? No. My biggest problem with it is that later they're saying, oh, this evil country is using children. Is killing children. Like, well, don't send them to war. Don't send them to the front lines. Hide your fucking children if you want to keep them safe. If you put a child in the front line with a gun, he's gonna get shot. You can't later be like, oh, they're killing children. Well, no fucking shit, they're killing children. You're putting them in the war.
It's so dishonest. It's such bullshit.
Shelling civilian areas and blocking food from entering already famine-ruined parts of Yemen.
It's insane, by the way, that he's blaming famine and starvation in Yemen on the Houthis without mentioning what the actual cause of that is. The Saudi blockade, which is still ongoing, by the way, the Saudi blockade against Yemen, ongoing since 2016, which is the actual cause of the famine in Yemen. You know, the Saudi blockade backed by the US and Israel, that blockade, as it says here on Wikipedia, for example, the main cause of the crisis is the ongoing Yemeni civil war. Aid cannot effectively reach the population because of the ongoing civil war and the blockade of Yemen by Saudi Arabia. To try and blame the Houthis for the famine.
Okay, didn't he just say that Saudi Arabia is supporting the Yemeni government? Hold up.
Seem to want to mention this. He's not seemed to want to mention who has been carrying out the genocide. It's not the Houthis, it's the Saudis. It's the Yemeni government who they back.
So the Saudis are backing the Yemeni government, but then they also create a blockade so that the Yemenis cannot get any food. Yeah, that sounds about
This
right.
is like talking. It's insane, by the way. What the Saudi blockade against Yemen, ongoing since 2016, which is the actual cause of the famine in Yemen. You know, the Saudi blockade backed by the US and Israel. That blockade.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the blockade is to make sure that the Houthis are not getting anything. Fairly certain, because if they're in support of the Yemeni government, right? What would be the reason for them to blockade the Yemeni government? The only reason would be that because the Houthis are going to be the ones taking all of the shit that they're not blockading, right? So,
As it says here on Wikipedia, for example, the main cause of the crisis is the ongoing Yemeni civil war. Aid cannot effectively reach the population because of the ongoing civil war and the blockade of Yemen by Saudi Arabia. To try and blame the Houthis for the famine imposed upon Yemen by the Saudis in two ways: by them backing the incredibly unpopular and illegitimate former Yemeni government, by them bombing the country, massacring people, obviously, and by them literally blockading the country and intentionally preventing food imports from entering. To blame that.
so they are in support of the government, illegitimate government, whatever you want to say, but they're blockading it because of the Houthis. Okay, so it is because of the Houthis. Got it. Thank you for the clarification. Anyways, I gotta go. Oh my god. I don't know how much more I can take of this. This is actually like self-suffering, like fucking, putting needles in my eyes or some shit like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll do one more. I honestly, there's no way I'm getting through like 2.5 more hours of this shit. This guy is legit fucking retarded.